like to mention that during the spring, the town basically worked with the Zuckerberg Institute in providing young people with a great opportunity to work with struggling businesses and to interact with respected, some nationally known business leaders um, on a Zuckerberg post-pandemic initiative. And we wanted to provide the town board and residents with an overview of what happened during the past few months. And now we're beginning our summer post-pandemic program. So I'd like to welcome Brian Murphy to tell us a little bit about what was accomplished.
First of all, thank you so much, Supervisor Feiner. My name is Brian Patrick Murphy, and I'm one of the co-founders of the Zuckerberg Institute, along with Michael Littig, who's on this call in the background somewhere, and Randy Zuckerberg, who is from your area, Dobbs Ferry area originally. Also, I would like to say that I caught the end of that, Judith, and so thank you so much for sharing that very inspiring story. Without going too long, because I am the furthest thing from the star of the show tonight, I have two Greenburgh area business leaders on the call with us tonight that will briefly tell you about their experience working with the students and the Zuckerberg Institute's post-pandemic task force. There was a 12-week program where we took some of the best students in the Greenburgh area high schools, and we put them on teams to work with businesses that had been, of course, negatively affected through the COVID-19 pandemic. And they worked directly with these businesses to help them come up with some innovative solutions of some ways that they may be able to help these small businesses in only 12 weeks of work. So with us tonight, we have two local business leaders and two of our students. Both of these, all four of the people that are going to speak tonight are going to speak for about 2 to 3 minutes each. They're all four very engaging human beings. And I think the best place to start is I would love to begin tonight with Jennifer. And Jennifer leads the Meditation Lab, which is just a wonderful small business. So Jennifer, what I would love for you to do is first tell us how you came into this program, because a lot of the folks on the call probably don't even know the process of how you got into be one of the small businesses. And maybe in about 30 seconds, tell us what your business is, how it was affected, and then your experience of working with the task force.
Wonderful. Thanks, Brian. So I was invited into this process through one of the participants. His name is Jake Auerman, and Jake knew me through the work that I had done in Irvington High School. I lead introduction to mindfulness meditation workshops in public and private schools all throughout Westchester County. And I've been doing that for about 5 or 6 years. So I knew Jake fairly well. He was very familiar with the work that I'd done. And obviously he was aware that in the school year of 2019-2020, that when everyone began sheltering in place and school became virtual, that I was no longer a part of the program, and obviously into the fall and winter of 2020 and 2021 that I was no longer part of the program. So his sense was that my business was one that would be safely identified as one that was struggling, and had reached out to me to see if I would consider allowing him to playing a role. And I wasn't even really sure exactly what that meant, but I loved Jake and he has such a nice way about him. So I was certainly eager and curious to learn more. And once I got as a part of the program, I learned so much from this incredible group of teenagers. The initiative was really pretty amazing. All the group, the teenagers that were in my group were so creative and honest and flexible. They were so brilliant in their thinking, and they really listened to my story, what I had to say. They were very curious and eager to better understand my company, why I do what I do, to get to better understand me and who I am. And when they asked me questions, they really listened to why it was that my business was now struggling, and tried to help me come up with creative solutions or ideas to navigate through, obviously, these very challenging and unfamiliar times.
Were you able to come up with changes as a result of this?
That's a great question. So the group as a whole identified a lot of different directions in which I could consider redirecting my energy, some of which I had shared a little bit about the idea of entering into the corporate space or considering that. And they took that idea and really ran with it. They were open and eager to suggest exploring doing that with partners, doing it outside rather than inside to attract, more companies, working with local catering companies, possibly to do some sort of joint project or presentation, as well as pitching the idea of my program into a few new districts for this upcoming year, 2020, 2021. So we'll see what happens, but certainly a lot of good ideas on the table.
Yeah,
Very
and
good.
I think, Paul, what you're about to hear about Supervisor Feiner is that Jake is here with us, and he's going to tell us specifically what his group came up with and what they're working on. So I want to welcome just a truly, actually, I'll let Jake introduce himself. Jake, tell your name, what school you go to, and what year in school you are, and then tell us about leading this team.
Yeah, well, first, thank you all for inviting me to come speak to you all. It's really an honor and a privilege. But also, thank you, Jen, for working with us. I know you were a little bit reluctant at first, but your message to me when you said that you were willing to do anything and everything to help your business really resonated with me. And I made sure that you knew that this group of people was going to do that for you. Um, so I'm going to now take you through like a brief overview of what this program was, where it was meaningful to me, and then where the lessons we learned tied into what we did. So the first 4 weeks of the program was targeted on leadership work. Something that really stood out to me was talking about our role models. And that seems like a little bit of something like passive, like just talking about our role models, but it really forced us to identify the qualities we wanted to see in ourselves because we had seen them in people who had made an impact on us. For example, one of the people I thought of immediately was an old cross country captain, um, since I run for school. And this captain really touched me because of his passion. Um, and that's just a quality I want to kind of show to you all, just a passion, a love for what I do. Um, and that was one of the lessons I took away from that segment, was just understanding who I wanted to be and exemplifying those qualities. During this program, we also had the opportunity to talk with many, many business leaders. And they taught us amazing lessons. And so the first one would be Ruben Polendo. He is the dean of NYU Tisch, and he said something that I hope sticks with everyone here. You will always run out of time, but never run out of questions. Um, and working with the team to help a business in a time we knew nothing about what was going to happen next, on like a national and pandemic scale. We didn't know how anything was going to affect Jen's business, but we knew that we just had to keep asking questions and keep answering the questions, because there were so many questions to answer. But you can never run out of questions when you're trying to solve problems. That brings me into the next thing. So we learned about the 4 business truths, and I'm going to tie in those 4 business truths into more things we learned about, and then more things we did. So the first one is that business is about solving problems. And one business leader who really showed this is Randy Zuckerberg. She came on, heard all of our pitches, and there were like 11 groups pitching to her. But each and every time, she came up with genuine feedback on how they could better their approach to helping their business and how they could actually help. And that stuck. As like an aspiring business leader, I want to be able to have that same adaptability to whatever the situation is, and be able to provide people with genuine feedback so that they can actually improve, and not just feel like I acknowledge what they had to say. And that's something that Randy did. And the next business truth is that there's a root to these problems. And we had the opportunity to talk to Harry Mosley, who actually works for Zoom. And that same framework is something they use at Zoom. And that was really phenomenal, hearing from someone who has changed the way we live our lives. We are meeting on Zoom right now, and he is pivotal, or yeah, pivotal in everything they do. And he's there telling us this framework that we get to use. That was just an amazing opportunity.
Isn't he also somebody who's one of the highest ranking people at Zoom
Yeah, he's the CIO of Zoom.
International?
Yes.
And did you feel, or did the students feel like a little awkward or speaking to somebody who's so internationally, known. How did you feel? Did you feel confident, like just talking to him when he's so successful? And was he arrogant or down to earth? What was you feeling?
Yeah, and that's another kind of lesson that I learned from this program is how accessible these business leaders really are. They seem like they're so far away and that they live in a different world than us, but the truth is they all live in this world. And he talked about how Zoom, they really wanted to start solving the education problem. Um, and that's a problem we all struggled with now. Like I'm a student, I struggled with the education problem transitioning to online school. Um, and he wasn't arrogant. He like obviously he knew the impact of Zoom, but he also taught us that at Zoom they have a little mentality framework that like if you aren't happy or you're not like positive, just don't come to work. And he showed that to us. He was positive, reinforcing, and just like showed that these are like the ways they solve problems on these national scales, how they do it. And none of it was like inaccessible to us. It really made sense since we had learned these frameworks already, and now we got to hear it from someone who does this for a living in one of the highest stake jobs in the world. Um, and that was truly amazing. Um, and then the third business truth here is like there's a way to solve these problems. And that way is, I mean, it depends on what the problem is, but that starts with community and showing up. And those are two really valuable lessons we learned from this program. Just the idea of showing up, be there for your team, for your community, for your business, and that was an overarching theme, and it really touched me. That's one thing I really want to take away from this is just show up for whatever it is, whenever it is or wherever it is. Be there, show up, and do what I have to do. Um, and then the last and final, like the final business truth is the way to solve these problems is to follow a path. And that path involves building community. And Alex Bussinger, the senior vice president of the Bank of America private bank, it's crazy we even talked to him because he was just telling us he was talking to a celebrity like right before talking to us. But he came, spent some time with us, and talked to us just about building community and how important that is in everything you do. And that's what we had to do. We had to build a community around the meditation lab so that people recognize, this business is struggling, but we can help. We can participate because it matters to us. Meditation and mindfulness matters more than ever. Sitting at home on a screen it's draining, it's stressful, but there are ways to solve those problems. And meditation and mindfulness is one of those. So part of our job was to connect to that community that is struggling because of the inaccessibility of meditation and mindfulness services and show them that it really isn't inaccessible. And then also we had the pleasure of talking to Lindy Elkins Tanton, one of the most brilliant people I ever talked to. She is running a NASA mission and came and talked to us for almost 2 hours just about building teams, and building teams with purpose and you know, with a reason behind every single person on your team should have a reason, and that's meaningful. She also talked about giving credit where it's due and what she calls dispelling this hero model, which is really just a really fascinating concept of everyone does their part, give them credit for their part. Like no one should be above the group when it comes to taking credit because no one is able to do it all. And the truth is that we're more powerful when we work together and we're interdependent. And part of that is giving each other credit where it's due because I know, like personally working with these teams, I had the pleasure of working with amazing students who, had known those lessons, but those lessons were reinforced by Lindy, and they made an effort to make sure that everyone was not only included, but everyone made sure that they knew that they were included and that their work mattered to the group. Um, and we brought all this to Meditation Lab. Jen talked about it a little bit, but we really pushed for like a corporate program for the Meditation Lab, just because we saw that schools didn't have the capacity for these types of programs now, but businesses were struggling with people having like the added stressors of the at-home environment, like being around, like having a lack of like child care is stressful for a lot of people, a lot of parents, especially when they have to manage work on top of it. Not being able to meet with people that are important to their work is also another struggle, and all this builds upon each other to create stress and create things that meditation and mindfulness can solve. And so we wanted to kind of break into that kind of market that we saw as an opportunity for Jen to expand her business, um, possibly permanently or even temporarily until she can get to what she really cares about, which is teaching in schools. And having been part of Jen's programs many times at Irvington High School, I know it's a truly amazing experience. And I encourage all these students here to kind of reach out to their schools and ask them if they can get Jen into their school, because it's a great experience. Um, Very relaxing, very calming, and you kind of come out of those sessions realizing that there is a way to kind of resolve all the stress, especially in like times like the end of the year. A lot of students have like finals and other exams and stuff, and that's a stressful time. And Jen always happened to come like during those stressful times or right before those stressful times when we needed it most. And I kind of wanted, and my rationale for bringing Jen along to this program was not only did she communicate to me that she needed it, but I knew that other people needed to be touched by her work, and um, this was a truly an amazing opportunity to do that. Um, and like overall, to sum up what my colleagues and I learned, we learned about like teamwork, communication, um, problem solving, and we learned to kind of just break everything down and be as specific as possible. So many lessons that will kind of be ever valuable in everything I do, and I know that talking to every single one of my teammates, we've all been just truly grateful to work with this program and work with Jen and work with each other because of the impact we're able to create. So, like, once again, thank you all for letting me present to you all. I hope, as I said before, that my passion for this program shows. But if I could leave you all with any word to describe what this experience was like, I would simply say it has been inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you so
That's
much.
great.
Jake is just, as we all know, you've probably met him before if you're in the Greenburgh area, one of the most special young students that I've ever been associated with in my life. And I'm sure he could give you a 25 bullet point thing about all the literal specific things, every reach out they did, every person they communicated with, every journey along the way. So if anybody wants a deep dive into all those things, reach out to Jake or me, and he can give you like spreadsheets probably of all the different communications I have. I want to move on quickly. We have one more business here that it was super inspiring. And one of the students that headed up that business, Tiffany, welcome. Tiffany is with Top Asia Mart, just a business that we absolutely fell in love with. So Tiffany, maybe you could give us about 2 minutes to tell us who you are and then what your experience was like. There you are. What your experience was like going through this program with these students.
Hi everyone, thanks for inviting, especially from the town of Greenburgh and also Zuckerberg Institute. And it's our pleasure to participate with this program. And I represent Top Asia Mart, which is located in Scottsdale. And we are a specialty Asian supermarket. And usually we sell a lot of stuff in regards to Southeastern food, and also some Chinese and Japanese, and also some Western food, which is like a combination.
What's the
And
address of the store?
Scottsdale,
No, the address. Where on what street?
365 Central Park Avenue. That's our address. Yeah. I think it's next to the new barbershop store. If you're familiar with that, if you guys come from that neighborhood, and next to it is this supermarket. And based on the experience of the customer, we are like the generation of the owner who took over, and especially pandemic that's really hit us. People always say a retail store, supermarket, they're really doing very good business, but actually being an essential workers in the supermarket, you actually take a lot of risk, especially you have to serve a lot of different customers come in, and you have to like be very careful, like sanitize and everything else. Even though our store, it's kind of like having like some history and kind of like classic and old, but we try our best to do more like sanitize, especially on our workers, staff, and also more important customers, and also the distance and everything else. We work so hard for like when we serve customer, everybody like come and buy a lot of stuff just to make sure to be safe and stay home, and then keep the self like more quiet and calm at home and just to provide everything else. So most of the time during the pandemic, it really helped us to boost a little bit of the business. But then the scary part, and every day when especially we are like family business, we have to engage the scare within us because we have to face different people every day and with the long hours. So people get panic and then came in, and then you don't know if the customer having a different situations. So and especially we have to be more secure and everything else, and getting food, uh, getting like a resource from a different wholesaler and put and provide that to the customer is also a tough time, because people are like crazily like taking all those like resources, and we are not like big competition compared to H Mart, ShopRite, everything else. It's also another cost for us because we are small business. We don't really get much of the resource to provide. You have to provide foods to your customer to gain like to keep your profit. But then in other hand, if you don't have that kind of continuing resources, that's really make us really struggle a little bit. But thanks for the program, and then the students is actually give us a lot of like helpful resource because they help us to establish a lot of like ideas, especially on social media and Instagram, Facebook, and then help us to clean up the store, sanitize everything else because we have limited like workers in the store. We really appreciate, and then they give us a brilliant ideas how to work on the store and just to continue how to grow up and get a little bit more improved. So I really appreciate that, and thank you so much for the program. Thank
I
you.
just want to ask a question, just a clarification. There's
Sure.
an Asian market at the Four Corners in Hartsdale rather than Scarsdale. Is that was that your store?
It's in Scottsdale only, not in Hartsdale. I think it's if you're referring to a H Mart or another
No,
Japanese.
no, there's one at the Four Corners in Hartsdale near a barber shop.
No, not that one. The other one in Scottsdale.
Okay, this is in the Edgemont section of
Uh,
Greenburgh.
mm, So
Okay.
I don't know. Before they have like California Pizza. I don't know if you're familiar with the place, but then they also like um gone over the business. We are on that lot. That's our store location.
That is great.
Mhm.
And if people are interested in patronizing your store, how do they? Could you give them a phone number and just give a free commercial to your store?
Sure. We have name card, and then we try to like promote our store a little, and also the student also a best resource like advocate and try to promote our store, and then try to do some advertisement maybe over the high school and get some snack. That's fine too. And then we also successfully because of their effort, and we attract some customer from Connecticut, because instead of travel to New York City, and we actually cut half of the time, and then they come to our store to get whatever that feels like fit for their scenario. So which is very happy because that's really very convenient for them, and also keep us living, because in Scottsdale doing business is not, it's very expensive too. So yeah, so I'm happy that we kind of like work it out a little bit, little by little. Hopefully in the future we can improve. Thank you.
And Brian, could you mention some of the actual initiatives that the students took?
Yeah, I could, but it will be done better by David, who's about to do that. Jake and David Diao, who you're about to meet, was one of the team leaders of Top Asia Mart, and he is already beyond my years as far as a business leader, and he's only a sophomore. So David, please introduce yourself, your name, what school you go to, the year in school that you are, and tell us the specific things, and get very specific, because you know how I am about specificity, because Supervisor Feiner wants to know the literal every single thing that you did to help out Tiffany's amazing business.
So really quick as an introduction, hi everyone, my name is David Diao. I'm a sophomore at Scarsdale High School, and I had the privilege of joining Brian and Michael in the post-pandemic task force. So really quick before I get started, I just wanted to paste the address and the website for Top Asia Mart in case anyone was interested in patronizing this business. And so, you know, if any of you might want to try out some Southeast Asian cuisine or any cuisine from the Asian region, that there's your place right in Scarsdale. And so really quick, I just want to start by saying one of the, I used to say, time-honored traditions of our program was at the end of every meeting every week, we would give a moment of thanks. And that has become a defining moment for my life in the past couple of weeks. And I'd like to start off this by giving a couple of thank yous. So first of all, thank you to the town of Greenburgh for helping to sponsor this amazing program and giving all of us students the opportunity to learn so much from Brian, Michael, and all of our guest speakers. Then, of course, thank you to Brian and Michael for putting on this amazing program, for founding the Zuckerberg Institute. And lastly, thank you so much to Jake, one of my fellow colleagues who has done, I know, an amazing job. And just right now, I think you've all heard how amazing of a speaker he is. He's truly incredible, and he's taken a lot of the points that I was going to talk about and said them in a way that is way better than anything that I could have come up with. So specifically, because Brian asked so politely, and same thing with Mr. Feiner, I want to talk to you all a little bit about some of the specific actions that we took under the post-pandemic task force. And I'd like to start that off with a quick preface. During the post-pandemic task force, I would say that to sum up what we learned, I would describe it as a new form of thinking, because we're all familiar with things like, well, there's a problem, now we got to figure out a solution. But the question is, how do I think about a problem? How do I think about a way to develop a solution to said problem? That is what we learned under the post-pandemic task force. And I'll give you an example of that, which is we developed what is known as a community action question, a focused, directed question aimed at analyzing the problems that our business was facing and creating a solution that would be the most beneficial and most actionable for that business. And specifically, the community action question that we developed for our business, which is again, Top Asia Mart, was oh, sorry, that's not the right one. How can we help Top Asia Mart build and improve their social connections to increase consumer interest? So we started off analyzing how we can build social connections, groundwork for any small business in America. And we decided the best way to do so would be through social media. So some of the initiatives that we took, we developed a social media page for Top Asia Mart, and we started networking with our friends and family in order to get more people to, actually really quickly, I just want to give a piece of background information about Top Asia Mart, which is Top Asia Mart is a business that was started during COVID. And that makes it all the more unique because sometimes people aren't exactly out shopping during COVID. So some people didn't even know that this was a new business that had popped up, that it was providing new goods, it had a new look, new design, new philosophy. And that was really something that we took into account when developing our solutions. We wanted to let the world know, hey, there's a great new business in our local community that you should be helping and supporting, because it not only is a great business, but it also gives back to the community, helps and supports you. And so we again developed social media. We also worked with Google Business Program to get it discoverable, because it used to be confused with the previous business. And that was, a big issue, because let's say I went to that previous business, didn't like it. How do I know that they've changed? That's what our goal was. In addition to that, however, we also wanted to improve upon customer experience, which is another thing that we learned from our excellent guest speakers. They talked about the idea of shopping from a point of emotion. What do I feel when I shop at a business? What is the emotion that it gives me? How do I feel about shopping there? And developing a framework for a solution, including that concept was really important to what we did. So for example, one of our biggest initiatives with Top Asia Mart was, I believe it was on a Sunday evening. A lot of our team members, the majority of them, came together, brought the cleaning supplies, went into the business, and spent hours just working to get the place cleaned up.
How many volunteers?
That was really, go ahead, Mr. Feiner, sorry.
How many students did the cleanup?
I want to say like 15, because even though, this is specifically with the Zuckerberg Institute, a lot of the students got their friends interested as well. And they were able to bring along more people to help out this business. And I thought that was really something important. And I'll touch a little bit more about that later. But specifically, we went in, we cleaned up the business, we gave it a new look. And another key thing that I want to mention is that our work with Top Asia Mart, I don't believe that it's done. I think that the friends and the close-knit community I've made along the way at the Zuckerberg Institute, we want to keep helping this business. We want to keep doing our part in propping up a real important member of our community. And so I think that we're already planning for maybe continuing to come in on another day and helping out again. We also want to develop more community initiatives with this business, get it more known to the community members. And I guess if I would be able to, Brian, do we have the time? I just want to give out kind of like a final message of what I think this program has meant for me.
That would be
Okay.
wonderful, David. Yes, you have a moment.
Great. So really quickly, what I believe this program has meant for me is I've not only learned about business, and I think that's really important. I've learned to become a better citizen, a better community member, and a better person. Because really, the lessons that help a small business like Top Asian Mart have also helped me to look at my problems in life, to look at my way that I approach certain issues, to look at my philosophies in regards to certain things. And I think that that's really helped me. And I hope that maybe the town of Greenburgh is willing to sponsor the Zuckerberg Institute again and give this opportunity to more students. Thank you.
I just ask you a question, because I want to like create. I want to reach out to foundations and see if we could, expand the program. And what would you say to a foundation that might be reluctant to to give to this? Say, oh, there's a million other programs that help young people or help businesses. Could you see this program being deserving of, say, federal stimulus grant or an economic development grant or grants from the county? And, if you were me and you were trying to sell it to lawmakers and funders, what would you say? Because
I would say, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so I would say that first of all, yes, I do believe that this program has meant the world to me, and I've truly learned so much from going to it. And I think that, yes, it is deserving of funding. And I want to give you a couple of reasons for that. First of all, I know Brian and Michael personally. These are some of the most dedicated, energetic, enthusiastic people I have ever met. And I know Brian's a little bit embarrassed by this, but truly, I get up every Thursday morning and I get excited because I know that in the afternoon, I'm able to connect with amazing people like Brian and Michael, who personally have made a difference in my life. And I'm able to connect with all of my amazing colleagues and do work that actually supports our community. And I think that that's another important point, which is the Zuckerberg Institute's goal is not only to develop students, any class could do that, but it's to develop students with real world experience in a meaningful way. And I think that that's another important factor as well. And lastly, I just want to say that the Zuckerberg Institute, with its ability to connect individuals, which is another thing that we learned about, but I don't have enough time to get too much into that, has truly given me completely unparalleled experience. I remember that you asked Jake a question about this earlier in regards to Harry Mosley. What is it like to be in the presence of someone with so much, I don't want to say power, but that's, I guess, a way that you could put it, with so much commanding of respect? That position is so high up. The way I see it is I feel inspired by that. And I think that that is something that is truly powerful to me and can be truly powerful to all students, not only necessarily in the town of Greenburgh, but across the nation as well.
And Jake, what would you say to funders who may say, I don't think, why should I give money to fund this type of program in the future?
Yeah, amazing question, and thanks for asking it. So what I'd say is that, like David said, it's community-based action, and I think the important word there is action. I think the first words Brian said to us was, "This is not theory. This is not a classroom. This is action. You're making an impact on real people, on real lives, on real businesses." And I mean, like, yes, I've been in the classroom for the past 3 years, but I've also done things in the community, and I can tell you certainly that being in the community and making impact on real people in real ways is truly the most fulfilling experience a student can have. Like for me, it has opened my eyes to what is possible. It has shown me that there is no limit to what I can do because there's a community around me, and especially as a student, understanding that this community is so willing to come around whatever initiatives I am able to come up with to better the community is a truly inspiring fact. It's truly inspiring to know that there are people throughout the community, whether it be in the town of Greenburgh, whether it be someone who is like elected official, whether it's someone who just runs a business, whether it's someone who is connected to a lot of people through some social work, that they're willing to take the time out of the day to help me because I'm a student trying to better the community, a community that we are all a part of. That has meaning. And I'd say that to anyone who is like considering, funding further programs here in Greenburgh or in other places, that, giving students the opportunity to take these ideas we all hear about, these ideas we all have, this idea that I want to make an impact on my community, but giving them the opportunity to take action in such a meaningful way is a powerful experience. It
And
shows us, yeah, what's
that's
your
fine.
question?
No, that's fine. You can continue.
Yeah, so like it's a powerful experience and it shows us, that our futures are not bounded by anything. And it's that type of experience that I hope that other students can have in the future.
I'm wondering how many different businesses were helped during this past couple months.
Paul, may I just interrupt for a quick minute and ask that you ask Tiffany the same question that was asked of David and Jake, so that we
Okay.
can get her perspective on the response to that question.
Tiffany?
Yes, hi. Yep. I think this program is very valuable. I think being a small business is not easy, and especially in the community. I can found that it's kind of different, like the bonding and everything else, and getting to know the community can help a lot because we know some, for example, like some restaurant owner, they also suffer a lot during the pandemic, and we would try to help them out to promote their business, like what is the store location and everything else. So I think the bonding, if the program keep helping the small businesses, I think that would be a good point to build up and also develop the town and get to know more about the town. I think that will help out with the economic and everything else. That's from my perspective. Of course, more populations, which means more getting to know here and moving in, and that helps a lot from my economic side of perspective.
Great. So Brian, I just wanted to get a sense how many businesses were helped and other businesses that you worked on.
Let me see here. I could mess this number up, and if Michael's probably going to chat me in this second and tell me I say the wrong number. I want to say that we worked with, that was groups of, I'm trying to do division in my head. 6 different businesses from the Greenburgh area so far. I could try to name them. And then we just started last night with our next group, with our summer group, and we'll be working with 6 more businesses. So within 6 months, we'll have worked with about, I think, 12 businesses from the Greenburgh area.
So this is really like an opportunity that if we hadn't done this, some of the businesses could have possibly not survived. So Tiffany, do you feel that this pilot project will help your business survive the post-pandemic era?
Yes, definitely. And meeting more young people which has a more creative and innovative way to do business, because after pandemic everything's changed, so we have to change the business model, have to change along with the society, the community, and also the whole thing. I think it's worth it, and it's very priceless experience, not just about the business, but the experience with the whole community and Zuckerberg Institute, and also the students have enlightened my way of thinking as a business owner, and I really appreciate that. And thank you all.
Because yeah, so would you be able to mention any of the other businesses?
Oh my gosh, let me see. Yes, oh gosh.
Off the top of your head. You don't have to name everyone.
Oh my gosh, Michael, chat me right now. I'm drawing a blank. I got it. Curious on Hudson, Random Farms,
Tasty Tuesdays. Tasty Tuesdays,
Oh,
was
oh
that
yeah,
one of them?
TT Seasonings, yeah, with Colby Jenkins. Oh my gosh, she is amazing. I love that woman so much. I can't even begin. Talk to her if you want to talk to somebody that really heard some things. Did some things. Talk to Colby Jenkins. I want to quickly and I put Michael sending me messages about all the things I'm forgetting, but something David quickly skipped over. We're getting ready to work with Golden Crust. Michael's texting me right now, amongst some many others. But David skipped over something, and I'm trying not to say much because I know you're on these calls for a long time, and I promised Attorney Lewis that I would not keep us on very long tonight. But David Diao, who's absolutely, by the way, can we just talk about David Diao and Jake Auerman for a second? I've never been around high school students like this in my life. I was a college professor. I have founded 4 businesses and I'm in business with Randy Zuckerberg. And I'm telling you, I've never met young people like these two specific young people in my entire life. I will be writing their college letters of recommendation. They haven't asked me to do that. I demand that I get to do that. There is not a single administrator at a single school that will not get on the phone with me, not because of who I am, but because of who I'm fortunate enough to be involved with in my career. And I promise you, I will call or personally walk to their doorstep to get these 2 students into any school or any internship they could ever want to do. That's what I think of these 2 people. And I promise you that is the truth. But David skipped over something specific that they did that I didn't even comprehend how big of a deal it is, because I'm kind of a technophobe, which is weird because I work for the Zuckerberg Institute. He talked about how they made Top Asia Mart essentially Googleable. So if you're not familiar with what that means, I was on the call with them when this success happened. When the success happened, with one of their team members was tasked with figuring out, having to go into the Google's algorithm to figure out how to make Top Asia Mart actually show up first if you Googled Top Asia Mart. You can't begin to understand how hard that is to do and how many tens of thousands of dollars a business would have to spend to make that happen. And David's team did that. And I was on the call with them, and it was like a celebration as if they just won the Super Bowl, because these high school students had figured out something that would take adults weeks and tens of thousands of dollars to do. And he just skipped over it like it was a normal thing. Well, it's because people like David and Jake know how to do stuff like this. And frankly, 90% of us on this call would never be able to figure out how to do that. And it's something that could have tens of thousands of dollars of benefit for Tiffany's business. So I am humbled by working with Jake and David. And if you find more of them, send them to me and they can work with me for free. But they don't grow on trees. I wish they did.
So Brian, David was one of our 2020 summer interns at Greenburgh Town Hall. Weren't you, David? Where are you?
Right here. Yes, I was. It was another
Yes.
amazing experience for me.
Thank you, David. Where you worked on problem solving, leadership, teamwork, and what was it? Teamwork, leadership, development, problem solving, and what was the 4th one? Well, anyhow, the 4 pillars. Okay, so anyhow.
Yeah, can I just ask?
Leadership, teamwork. But anyhow, we want to be able to, Brian, we want to be able to call on Tiffany and David and Jake to be speakers to our summer internship program that's going to start on July 6th. So can I work through you in getting in touch with them to be guest speakers to their peers? I mean, just think about that. Just think about how awe-inspiring that will be for these 3 young people to speak to their peers.
Could I also ask another question? Because we basically are funded it for the spring, we funded it for the summer, and now we have to start over to get funding for the fall and winter. Would you be able to give us some written summary of the names of the businesses that were helped, what the students did? My feeling is that what you did today sort of highlights it, but then what I could do, if you could have like a package with saying we did these 8 things, we did these 5 things for this business, we did this for Colby's, and then maybe have some testimonials from each of the businesses, then I will use that and reach out to lawmakers, see if we could get some federal stimulus grants. Because when you really think about it, one of the goals of President Biden's stimulus grant is to help local governments keep struggling businesses around. And this model, where you have students working with businesses that are struggling, could be sort of an answer and part of the solution, so we could avoid more vacancies. And if there's another business that's coming in, whether it's Hartsdale or 119 or Central Avenue, Stonewall River Road, and we could say, we're going to have a whole team of outstanding students who are going to help you with creative ideas. I think that if they feel that we've had some successes, I think that it gives a lot of potential to get more money. So do you think that's something that you could do for us?
It's already in process. We got you, Supervisor Feiner. Yes, we have, Michael and I are diligently working on to make it. We have all of this information already that you're asking for. We're just working on putting it in a prettier package for you to make
That's what I
it.
want.
Yep. So yes, we have all of that. I have more testimonials from students and businesses that I can count. I have lists of all the things that they did. And so, I'm just glad. I'm wondering if the town of Greenburgh allows people under the age of 18 to run for office, because I know some of you are up for re-election. And if David and Jake were running against you, you would be in a big problem in your
Right.
running for elections.
So that reminds me that
You just
the
got
fourth,
your funding
the
cut.
the fourth
There's
pillar.
no funding for you anymore. But because I know Jake is a resident of Irvington. David, you said you live in Scarsdale, so he's not a threat to me. But you know what? But basically, our goal is to create leaders of tomorrow. And how many you had? What is it? 40? About 40 students.
Yeah, we had 40 in those groups, and now we have 30 more. So 70 total students from the Greenburgh area.
And
Awesome.
and very few were really from Scarsdale and surrounding, and out of Greenburgh. But when we publicized this, there were some students from Scarsdale. It's really a handful, but not the overwhelming majority. And we basically felt that if somebody's really excited about the program, we wanted to give them an opportunity.
Right, that's right. So Paul, that just reminded me, Brian reminded me of the fourth pillar of our program that also sounds as if these were major components of the Zuckerberg Institute: communications, teamwork, problem solving, and leadership development. Those are the four pillars of the Greenburgh Town Hall Summer Internship Program. And I just look forward to having David, Jake, and Tiffany speak as guest speakers in our program this summer.
Ms. Baville, if I may interject really quick, actually, I also think that Miss Maness I've just heard heaps of praise piled upon her by Jake, and I think it'd be remiss if we did not include her as well.
Who is this, David?
Miss Maness, Jennifer Maness.
Oh,
in the meditation lab.
absolutely. Thank you, David, for the recommendation. So I will be following up with everyone via Brian. Okay.
I got it handled. And Supervisor Feiner, is there anything else we can do for you this evening before I let? I've just actually been on a call with Jake and David for the last 2 hours, working on some other projects. So
Okay, so that's good. I just want to mention the last thing is Garrett Duquesne. You're here, Garrett?
yeah, I see him.
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. So could we maybe reach out? I'm going to ask Janelle Wallace to create a YouTube video of this presentation, and could we share it with our economic development coordinator? Because I really think that this is a perfect, when people are looking for creative ideas, how we could keep businesses around that are struggling right now. And if we're not proactive, we're going to lose more businesses and they're going to be vacant. So I sort of feel that he could watch this, work with us and see if we could get funding for, fall and winter program.
I'd be happy to share that, and also the previous presentation with the internship and the apprenticeship, the car dealerships. It's very much going to be a thrust of the economic development team and connecting residents with jobs. So I think both are great initiatives, and I'm more than happy to share them.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Garrett. And we've got to meet up. Garrett and I live in the same town. You're like a half mile from me. I should just come knock on your door right now. Thank you, Supervisor Feiner. And if anybody from the town of Greenburgh or the surrounding areas have any questions, you can reach out to me, Brian, B-R-I-A-N, at zuckerberginstitute.com. It would be my privilege to help you in any way. Jennifer, thank you so much for being here and letting us work with the meditation lab. Jake Hourman, David Diao, you know what I think of you two. And I expect more out of you two than any other students I've ever worked with. So I will keep demanding more and more out of you. Thank you all so much for being here. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you for coming.
you. Bye-bye.